Welcome back to another episode of Tips and Tricks, but this time it is HBCU Hype. Why should you send your child to an HBCU? Today I have Mike Yates on the line with me. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike. I don't want to butcher your introduction. So tell us about yourself.
Oh, good. I work in education. I grew up hating school and decided to make a career out of hating school. And so I work right now for the Reinvention Lab at Teach for America, which is an organization that sees and recognizes all of the ills and the wrongs that TFA has done. And we seek to change the organization, but also transform the future of learning as we know it by funding, supporting, designing partnerships for education organizations out there that are really doing this work and that need, a partner in what they're doing. So, yeah.
Nice. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes, as they say. Yeah. So what do you love about HBCU culture? What do you love about it?
So I'm gonna tell you from an outsider's point of view, because my story is that I have a lot of family that went to HBCUs, but I ended up getting a speech and debate scholarship to a PWI, Texas State University. And I went there, and I feel like my whole life I've been looking like, man, like I think should I go to grad school there? Like, I don't know. But I think what I love about the culture is, especially as I get older, no matter where you go, like when people go to the same HBCU, it is like there is this friendship that is like second to none. Like, I think we talked about this before, but like people from Florida A&M, like from FAMU, they ride for each other. Yeah, like FAMU rides for each other in a way that I haven't seen very many schools, period. But I love that sense of community, right? Being connected to Black people, capital B Black, which, constitutes a great number of folks from all across the diaspora. So being connected just by your choice of school, I think it's amazing.
Yeah, and one of the things that I can remember when I stepped on campus was being able to have people who were influential and people who were, like these big famous names. Now, when they were on campus, they weren't like big famous names, and you could touch them and you could talk to them and now to see them in the limelight, to see, the commons, and to see them, you're like, oh man, I went to school with them. Okay, do your thing, and it does make you kind of rep a little bit, like, okay, do your thing. So it definitely breeds this culture of, I want you to win. And yeah. I think that's important. All right. So why do you think even now in 2021, we are still looking for validation from the PWIs? Like, why is that? Because I see in my classroom, and I see just throughout, as I look at Black America, like we are still trying to get to the Harvard and the Princeton. Why are we looking for this kind of validation that says if it's a PWI, then it has to have this prestigious, education level?
Yeah, I think it's because Black people, just like everybody, has committed and become almost like dogmatically devoted to a system that was not built by us or for us. And we've accepted what that system is success, which is Harvard, Yale, Princeton, University of Pennsylvania. And like, listen, like like those places as a student were in reach for me, but I had no idea what that meant. And I live in Texas, and where I live right now, there is the University of Texas, which is like, that's the school. Like, if that's the flagship institution in Texas, but right across the highway is one of the oldest HBCUs in the state of Texas. As a matter of fact, I think it is the oldest, which is Houston-Tillotson University. And so as a Black student, you have a choice, but they're fed these lies, they're fed these messages that like, you can't be as successful like I was, right? Like when I was a high school senior, my guidance counselor straight up counseled me away from Texas Southern University, PV, and didn't show me that something like 80% of all Black doctors graduated from HBCUs. And like, I think it's like there's an astronomically high number of Black professionals that graduated from HBCUs. So to be Black and successful, my chances would actually have been much higher. I've been at an HBCU, but if it's not taught because we've accepted that this system that was created by white people to benefit themselves, we've accepted that as success.
Man, you touched on so much stuff. So why should we send our children to HBCU? That's the question. Why you should send your child to an HBCU. And let me just preface that by saying not every HBCU has every program and has every major. So there will be children or there will be people who won't attend an HBCU because they just don't have their program, and it's just that simple. But a lot of HBCUs offer several programs, and if your child's program falls, I'm saying your child, but I mean general your, falls into kind of the pot of majors where there are HBCUs, why should we send our kids there?
You know, and I would even say this, like, there is a school somewhere, there's an HBCU somewhere for your, no matter what major they choose. Because when it comes to PWIs, I've had students that say, oh, well, I have to go to Arkansas because they have this program. And, oh, you leaving the state? Okay, cool. Oh, I got to go to Duke because they have this, right? But so it should be the same way with HBCU. So I think the reason why you should send your child to HBCU, number one, is because it's our system.
Yes.
Right? System that was created by Black people, for Black people, with Black people, to Black people, at Black people, all of it. Like it belongs to us. We have ownership in that system. Therefore, we control the flow of knowledge. We control the flow of dollars, right? So I think that's important. Ownership is important in the Black community, period. I also believe that at the K through 12 level, Black folks have to start divesting from the public school system at large, build our own system that funnels into HBCUs.
Yes.
And my greatest pitch would be Howard University, work with some innovators in DC and see what it looks like to create the Howard Elementary School, the Howard Middle School, right, to give students these real skills that are taught by us. But I really think that ownership is the biggest draw for me. Like it's our system. The other reason why I would say is because we now are really starting to focus on identity.
Yes.
And how your Black person means something. And it means more than, you know, one of my TED Talks is something called the culture of power. We were told for centuries that being Black made you powerless. But because of the work that the Panthers did and others in the Black Power movement, this melanin makes us powerful. This melanin gives us positioning and advantage in certain areas that other folks can't claim. And so I think that attending an HBCU, what I have seen in my interactions with people, has taught college students to see themselves as powerful. To see them. I cannot get enough of what Deion Sanders is doing. I mean,
Deion.
Yeah, I mean, Deion Sanders he's a surrogate Texan. He went to Florida State. But he's really empowering these young Black athletes to come to a system of athletics where the mainstream white system has said, don't go there. You can't go pro from Jackson State. And Deion Sanders is about to create a football powerhouse at an HBCU. So I think that's a perfect example of us taking ownership, us affirming our identity. Like, trust me, Deion Sanders could have gone to coach at Florida State.
Yes.
If any college football program doesn't hire Deion Sanders, the AD should be fired. The president of the university should be fired, right? He could have gone anywhere, but he chose an HBCU, which is a message about our identity and our ownership stake. So I think identity and ownership.
Man, I love that. Mike, you gave me so much stuff. You gave me so much good stuff. I am just absolutely in love with this talk. And I can tell this is going to be like a series that's going to really hit. And I want it to hit hard. And I want people to know that attending an HBCU is probably one of the best things you could do with your college experience. So that being said, last question. Your favorite HBCU band song, if you have one. If you don't, I'm gonna pick one for you and we're gonna jam out.
I do want you to pick one for me because I mean we talked about it before. Like I am partial to the Ocean of Soul at Texas Southern because my mama went there and my mama played in the Ocean of Soul. She played at Kashmere High School for Comrade Johnson. But Can You Feel It is like, you know, like I gotta say that because the first time I saw that happen, matter of fact, at Texas State University, our football team is awful. It's terrible. It's always been. We were good when my man Barrick Neely was the quarterback, but we've been awful for a long time. We have great uniforms, some of the coolest in the country.
Uniform.
Yeah. And when I was there, I'll never forget the Black community. We were like, oh, we playing Texas Southern here in San Marcos. So everybody was like, you know, we going to the game. And nobody wore Texas. They just wore maroon because it was the same color. So it's like, we don't want them to know which side we are. But like people showed up. You know, if you were there at the beginning, the game looked pretty empty. But when halftime showed up, everybody came.
Yeah, kick it in, halftime.
It was the show, you know. So like they did this amazing Michael Jackson tribute. But yeah, like Can You Feel It has to be my favorite.
I'm going to play the beginning of that because that one, the beginning always hits real hard, and then we're going to sign on out of here.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get it without the commercials because, you know, YouTube, they have all kind of ads and all kind of stuff. Then you got to skip the ad on YouTube. So I got to make sure I have my music queued up the right way. Let's see. Yeah, you hear those tubas come through, you be like, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I love that.
Y'all might have to go to an HBCU to hit a rest. Hi. All right. Thanks, Mike, for joining me on another episode of Tips and Tricks HBCU Hype. See y'all later.
Yeah, no problem.